and their environmental impacts, such as the use of plastic bags. So in here we have very simple questions for the students to think about their daily attitude. For example, when you go to the supermarket, do you use disposable plastic bags or reusable shopping bags? So the simple questions for the students to think, what can they do to help the planet, changing simple things that they do in their daily practices. The next units analyzed were Unit 11, called A Global Language, and the theme is English language as a global lingua franca. The critical literacy categories were power analysis, access to criticism, and value diversity. Power analysis is highlighted in the reading section, in which students are encouraged to reflect on the historical spread of English through British colonialism and its implications today. So it's a text that approaches the English in the world. So it talks about the spread, the historical of the English, but does not explore the negative impacts of colonialism. So the consequences of this. And the questions that comes after the text is look at the text questions. That is, the students have to revisit the text to find fixed answers. The only one that we considered to have the potential to develop students' critical thinking were the last one. What do you think would be different if the British Empire had established so many colonies and the United States hadn't become a world power? So here it is possible for the teacher to approach with these students and talk about these impacts, these laws of traditions, the laws of languages, and among others. Access to criticism is found in the speaking activity that challenges the students to consider whether they need to speak English like a native speaker, encouraging them to reflect on language proficiency from a critical standpoint. That is, we don't have to have a perfect English or talk like a native speaker. So here it is possible for the teacher again to say that what matters, after all, is the communication, the interaction between the people, the respect of the language, of the different cultures. And biodiversity appears in the Let's Start section, which introduces students to linguistic diversity by showing how English is spoken in various countries. While this fosters some awareness of global linguistic variation, the activity is limited in its engagement with the cultural diversity of English-speaking countries. So in here we have this linguistic diversity, that is the English is not only spoken on United States and European context, that is spoken in many countries, but we don't have the culture, the traditions of the English-speaking countries. And being the unit that approaches this issue of the entire textbook, it's a lack that we found, this missing of the culture of the English-speaking countries. The last units analyzed were the units 15, called Let's Speak Up for Them, and the theme is violence against women, gender dynamics, and physical aggression. These were the one that had most critical literacy categories. So we had power analysis, student as a protagonist, access to criticism, social spheres, and support for oppressed groups. In the power analysis, the students are invited to reflect on power imbalances in society, particularly in terms of gender relations. For example, students discuss the effectiveness of petitions and analyze campaign posters addressing violence against women. So in here we have this question of the power of the place in which they live. For example, do you think petitions are a good way of reaching authorities? Why? Why not? Is the area you live a safe place for girls and women? And in this line, it is possible also for the teacher to expand the scope of the debate. How can authorities use their powers to help in the community in which you live? Are they really using the powers they have? Student as a protagonist in their writing section, students take an active role by identifying problems in their community and writing petitions to local authorities, highlighting their agency and responsibilities in addressing social issues. So we have in the first category to analyze the petitions. Now they have to make one. And to do this, the textbook offers some possible themes for them to work. So we have there International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, International Day of the Girl Child, and Children's Day in Brazil. And Children's Day in Brazil connect with the next section, which is access to criticism, where we have a relate of Memory Banda. Memory Banda, in general lines, is leader for the girls' rights around the world, and she cites a poem about her friend. So her friend has only 13 years old, and she talks about how she was forced to marry with only 13 years old. And she titles this poem as I'll Marry When I Want. So the textbook approaches this issue to show the students that kids must laugh, must be happy. It's not normal to accept kids marry at such age. The social spheres found in both the listening and writing sections. Students engage in discussion about social environment, considering issues of safety and the role of authority, once again, in protecting women. So once again, making this link between content and their reality. As an example, are forced marriage and child marriage common issues in our country? And last, the support for oppressed groups. In the reading section, featuring the text on the Bring Back Our Girls campaign raises awareness of the kidnapping of girls in Nigeria and encourages empathy and action to support oppressed women. So we have in the reading section the first text that introduces this theme for the students, and this text talks about the kidnapping of Nigeria girls. And after reading the text, it comes questions for the students to think about their feelings. How did you feel when you read the text? And also, what do you think can be done to stop violence against women? So to think about the sense of the feeling and also to actions to reduce this issue. Conclusion. So the analyzed material promotes critical literacy, even if not explicitly stated by the authors. So since the general objective established by them until the units, we have the presence of the critical literacy. The strengths with 25% were social spheres. So it encourages reflection on students' social contexts and interaction with their realities. And the limitations with 6% weight were value and diversity. So we have this limited focus on diversity. That is the cultural, the gender, ethnicity, and among others. Once again, the textbook serves only as a guide. That is, it offers the content and the teacher works in the best way, adapting if necessary. So with this in mind, effective critical literacy practices will depend on how teachers used the material in the classroom. This study is a sampling. That is, it's not possible to affirm that the entire textbook faithfully works with the critical literacy, with only this analysis. And taking this in mind, it is possible to explore more the textbook. A suggestion that I give is to investigate whether guidance, teacher guidance, and how they support critical literacy practices. So from external links, discussion questions, so how the textbook helps the teacher to develop students' critical thinking. Here we have the graph that I used that summarizes these findings. Here we have some of my main references used, and thank you so much for your attention.
Agora vamos passar a palavra à banca. Deixa eu ver a minha aposentadoria. Deixa eu... Peraí. Quem vai falar primeiro? Sim. Eu acho que sim. Só. Isso, acabei dando uma retorno. Super torto. Acho que tá o quê? Acho que é assim. Só pegar, acho que pinar essa daqui agora. Fixar. Por favor, Okay, Bruno, you can sit down for a while. Relax. How much time do I have? Okay, first of all, Bruno, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. I'm very proud of you, Bruno, for choosing this topic. I remember our applied linguistic classes, and I remember how excited you were about the topic of critical literacy. So it's such an honor to see that you developed your paper in this thematic. I'm very excited about it too. So first of all, I will share some comments about your book, your paper. Then I will go section by section, telling you something you could improve. And finally, I will make you some questions, okay? So first of all, I love it, the comments you put in the beginning of the paper. If you have the access to it, please read, guys. It's very good. It reveals a lot of what is critical literacy. And I am amazed by the way you write, the way you conducted the research. It is very reliable. It's very well written. It's organized. You bring authors that support your ideas. Everything is made to be clear. You deserve congrats in so many levels about what you just wrote. And it looks like a monography. It looks like a master dissertation. I read master dissertations that were a lot less than what you wrote here. So this is amazing. Well, starting from your abstract, it's very well written. Again, I will repeat myself many times about this, but something that I am very picky about, it's when we have the main objective of the paper, and it has to be the same main objective in all the sections of the paper. So if you change one word, if you change one verb, it changes the meaning of what you are researching. So you did exactly what I like to see, that you put the main objective the same in the abstract, in the introduction, in your final thoughts. Everything is the same, including the specific objectives too. About your introduction, I loved it. I would just include the motivations to research such a topic. So why, and then this is one of my questions, why did you choose this topic? What are your personal and also academic motivations? Is there a gap in the literature? What you wanted to research these? So if you want to answer now or later, what do you think? Yeah, I think it's better. So you don't forget. What are your motivations, personal and academically speaking?
Well, thank you, Juliani. I personally love the critical literacy. I think it's really interesting to investigate this topic that changes the lives of the students. Back then, in the second year, when I first met the critical literacy, I wasn't that like, oh, I like this topic, I want to search it. It was only from the third year, like that I really stopped to think that, wow, the critical literacy is so amazing, I should search about this. And my motivations is because I think it's really interesting. It's good to talk about this. It's relevant. It started in the 80s, the researches, and we have to search more about this. And the textbook. The textbook is the most close thing that the students have in the school, like with the text, authentic texts. So searching the critical literacy presence in the textbook to see the deepness of the texts is really relevant for us to see if the authors are really interesting in changing the lives of the students or no.
So you should write it, okay, in your introduction. About the theoretical framework, I personally like the way you write and make connections among the theories you read. You're able to do it very well. You use reliable authors, as I said before, and researchers key to the field. So you use famous researchers. So this is This makes your research more reliable. And I don't have any complaints about this section of your paper. It's brilliant. Well, in the methodology, I missed some part telling why you chose this specific book. So I chose this specific book because I worked with it in the high school during my practical. What is the reason of that? And a section, a subsection, I mean, telling us information about the characteristics of the book. So you say it's a, you only mention, I think, once that the book is a single one for high school. So maybe if you put like a subsection saying, who are the authors, like who are they? I know the names of them, but they are professors, they are teachers, what are their formation? Or they are just publishers, you know? What else? If the book is a single one, the target public of the book, when it was published. I think we have some of this, but I wanted more. You know, what is the organization of the book? So you chose 3 units, but how many units does it have? You know, more information about the book itself. And you could also call it like about the material or material description as the name of your subsection, okay? In the results and discussion section, I love the way you analyze and connect the content with theory. Again, you do a brilliant content analysis. Just take a look in the repetition of some words, okay? This is something I look, but most of the people don't pay attention to it. But you start many paragraphs with the same word in this way, in this sense, in that, and then I just highlight it for you, okay? But this is minor. In your final remarks, Bruno, I loved the way you finish your paper. You are able to see the limits of your paper, the possible contributions of your research to the field, and you also suggest other ways to explore the same book. And of course, you're very critical. So I like the way you criticize the book and the units. Not everything is perfect. Sometimes when we do research, we tend to love so much our theme and the things we are working with that we are not critical enough. And you see some things that could be improved in the book, and you are able to do this critical opinion in a way, you know, kind way. So the questions, Bruno, I just made one of the questions, but the other one is, why did you choose this specific book?
When I was thinking about the textbook that I would analyze, I tried to think about the textbook that my siblings and the cousins were using.
Yeah.
And the anytime were the one they were using. And they also used in the internship. So that's why I chose this book, to see nowadays how it's going on in the schools.
So it was not clear that this book is being used right now in the schools in Apucarana, in Paraná, you know. So I think you should mention that. And my final question would be, can you explain more how this research improved your development of being a teacher?
I think that after this research, I became more critical for all of these things, not only in the professional side, but also the personal. We have texts that approaches issues from our daily lives, and I learned that problems that not only from the perspective of the students, but my perspective. What would I do, for example, to help the planet? Like, I think searching the textbook and analyzing helped in this sense.
Yeah, I think you will now look at the textbook not only as a guide, but you can, include more things in the way you work with students in the future to be more critical. If the book is not critical enough, I will suggest something, I will put something else, I will discuss with my students. So I think with this paper, you are able to do this, you know? So, Bruno, thank you so much one more time. I suggest, of course, that you go further with your research. You could apply for a master's degree. I think you would be a great researcher. I'll be very proud of you, and I will see your name around the world, baby.
I hope so.
Congratulations.
So, good evening, everyone. The family is present here. Very nice to see everyone here to see something great as your paper, Bruno. Okay. I would say exactly the same as Juliani did at the beginning, because it's very neat, very clear, very organized. That your writing is very great. You have a great domain of academic writing. It was very special to read you and understand very clearly what you were talking about. So my first impression was very great about your paper. I was expecting something like this. Now a student applying for masters, so I imagined something like this. And also because, as Juliana said, it's an area in which we were producing academically too. So I think it's very crucial to talk about critical literacy. We are in a moment that it's very hard to bring to the students, especially in public contexts, because of the platforms. So when you bring something like you call the attention for something so important, I think your paper is crucial. Yeah, it's a very nice reading then. I would say there's a quotation from you to analyze the way in which guidance is given to teachers. So when you were analyzing material and then you were talking also about teachers formation, I think it's amazing about your paper. I also commented here about the picture you put on page 7 because I think it was a brilliant idea. It's a very academic structure in your paper, but I think this brings something like to highlight. This paper is going to be interesting to read. In terms of the content of your paper, I have the habit when I read some paper of any student or for any purpose, I highlight some things like possible orthographic mistakes or typing mistakes. So if you have the interest to have a look, it's just suggestions like, or maybe word repetitions, Letras. Now the teachers here, we're also everybody's really connected to this. So I can send the version to you. But I would make some recommendations in terms of words that you have used. Like in the section 3.1, you have nature research. So I guess it's research nature, right? Just a change. I saw it, in fact, when it was in the middle of the text. I didn't pay attention in the summary, but then when I came down, wait. So I think this inversion would be necessary. And there is one thing about the acronyms you have used, as in the documents mentioned. You use a lot of them. I think it's a very brilliant way to contextualize your research. But you're talking about TCC, LDB, and sometimes you translated them or not. And then the acronym is in Portuguese, sometimes it's not. So, for example, LDB, you have translated as Law of Guidelines and Basis of National Education. And then it's LDB. So it would be an inversion of letters there. I don't know. Was it your intention to make it? No, just because of looking at this reference. So it would be L, G, B, and E. But I don't know if you wanted to mention this way. But maybe it would be nice because you refer PNLD, PNL, FNDE, MEC, there's lots of places and so on that you have the name in Portuguese. So maybe you have a look again, you decide, English or Portuguese. I translate the name, maybe not the acronym. That's perfect then, because then you have a standard. It would be nice. And as talking about standard, another observation would be the names of the unities. Sometimes they are not in italics, or they are. So then I have to keep coming back. It's my laziness, maybe. And then I forget the name of the unities as I didn't know the book very well. So, oops, I have to read it again, this paragraph, because I don't remember if it's the name of the unity. So maybe I think italics would be nice. So when you find the names of all the unities you analyze it, use italics. Remember, you were talking about the title of it. And I think that's it. In terms of your figures, very good. Got to have the book there. As Juliane commented, I didn't know exactly the purpose of this book itself. I think if you would add something to your paper, would say like why it's there, why this book, huh? And then it's more clear that it's been used and why you decided to bring this there. And I don't know, it's not exactly a necessity for this kind of papers, but as you have many figures there, maybe a list in the beginning you could add, and then we don't get lost because it's complementing your job, so it's very great to see them. And finally, I would just like to ask a question, as Julian asked one of them, why this book? So then it's clear for me now. But how do you see critical literacy in your practice at the moment, in the internship, as you have commented? Is it something part of your profession at the moment? Do you want to work on this right after the course?
I want to work on the critical literacy. In the place where I work nowadays, I don't have access to the critical literacy. It's the School for Teaching Idioms, Wizard, and we don't have the critical literacy. So it's a lack that I found that it would really be relevant to work with the students, like getting together the grammar with the subjects of critical. So I would like to work with critical literacy, but I hope I'll work in the future. But now it's not possible.
Totally understand what you're talking about. But Bruno, congratulations for all the research, all the way you have produced this. I know it's a worry about your presentation you have been talking about, but it was very wonderful, Bruno. Congratulations, and that you keep this way so on. And better, of course, yeah. Hope to read you more times. Congratulations.
Well, I just would like to tell you, Bruno, that it was a pleasure to be your advisor. You were always so worried and dedicated, and you wanted to finish and to have everything on the right place. So it was really a pleasure to be your advisor, and I'm sure I'm going to see your name further in your master's. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity.
I would like to ask if someone has questions about my final paper.
Quer colocar? Tira uma foto. Tá. Eu acho que pode ser depois. Agora os
Tá. Tá. Isso aqui é bom, isso vai explodir. Você só tem que tirar. Ok?
Pessoal, a gente vai convidar gentilmente vocês para se retirarem por um momento, enquanto a banca vai deliberar sobre a aprovação ou não do Bruno. Aí a gente chama vocês ali de volta quando elas terminar. Sim. Minutes of the final period, é isso? Não. Mas eu tô naquele slide antigo também, sabe? Tem que mandar assim. Não, mas eu não tava nisso. Ah, não, falei assim. Eu achei que eu tivesse também na época que eu era Fernando hoje. Deixar a tela dele aparecendo. Não, mas é que eu coloquei para aparecer assim. Bom, então a banca examinadora do TCC do acadêmico Bruno Henrique de Moraes Pereira se reuniu English Textbook and its Limitations in Promoting Critical Literacy e deliberou por sua aprovação. Parabéns, Bruno. Queremos tirar aqui com o trabalho da parabéns aos pais também. Se quiserem tirar foto de lá, todo mundo. Tira uma com a orientadora primeiro, depois a gente. Você tem celular bom para tirar foto? Porque eu. Quem tem? Eu tiro. Deixa eu. Meu. Ai, eu. Sim. Vamos lá. Verdade, já. Você é a sombra da Thalissa lá. Quer tirar uma com o título ali do trabalho? Ah, sim. Tirar uma com o título atrás. Fica aí. Eu. Ah, mas podia ser todos vocês. Não, não sei o que falar. Eu acho que já tinha aparecido ali a família. Deixa eu tirar. Dá? Acho que dá. Tá transmitindo ali pro. Tá, daí. Põe o título. Eu acho que deixa eu tirar aqui esse, então. Posso encerrar, então, aqui a chamada já.